The House Transportation, Mobility, and Infrastructure Committee will come to order. Would the clerk please take attendance?
Chair Shannon.
Present.
Representatives McDonald,
Present.
Coleman,
Here.
Conlon,
Present.
Farhat,
Present.
Fitzgerald,
Present.
Hoskins,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Outman,
Here.
Roth,
Here.
Bruck,
Present remote.
Kuntz,
Here.
St. Germain.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have 13 members present. You do have a quorum.
Thank you. I need a motion to adopt minutes from January 31st. Representative Hoskins makes that motion. Seeing no opposition, the minutes are adopted. So, continuing our presentations, we were supposed to have the Office of Future Mobility join us today. They won't be joining us, so we are going to have a presentation from the County Roads Association. So today we have Denise Donahue and also CEO Ed Niola, Chief Deputy and Legislative Director at the County Roads Association of Michigan. Thank you so much for coming in today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. We just don't know how to pull up our own PowerPoint. So if it was about roads, we'd know it, but.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Again, my name is Ed Noyola, and with me is Denise Donahue, the CEO of the County Road Association. We're going to be tag teaming this presentation today. First of all, let's go to the first slide. We're going to look at, I wanted to start with some data points for y'all. Michigan has approximately 120,000 miles of roads, highways, and streets. As you can see on the slide, counties have the lion's share of these with 90,000 miles, or 74% of the road straight miles. Municipalities have 22,000 miles, and the Department of Transportation has 10. These are straight miles. These aren't lane miles, just to be clear. We also have 52% of the bridges. We have 5,724. The department has 4,700, and again, the municipalities have 700 bridges. I'd also like to point out at the bottom there, you'll see that we have the fourth largest local road system in the United States. So that's a key point to remember. Here we're talking about the Michigan Transportation Fund Act. It's a budget, a state funding budget of about $4 billion. If you look over to the left on the box, you'll see that it has 86 sections. 77 sections have been amended over the time since it's been enacted. There are 306 amendments, and that includes 5 changes to the formula. The formula you might recall is the 39-39-22 between the 3 road agencies, the department, counties, and municipalities. This act has been keeping up with time. It also has included new programs. So whatever you may hear from others, this is current and well done, well written. Here we have a slide in your pamphlet or in your booklets. You'll have a slide or a single page of this diagram, so you can have it for your use. Where the state funds are, where do they come from? If you look to the left, there's 40% fuel tax, 41% vehicle registration. Down in the bottom left, 17% is the income tax transfer monies. That's at $600 million that was agreed to in 2015 through the legislature and enacted. Again, there is 1% marijuana tax that comes in, and approximately 1% for miscellaneous or interest. What's not listed here for your reference is township monies. Townships are required to participate, townships or county government are required to participate on certain types of improvements on the local road system. Now remember, the difference is primary roads, those are our higher traffic volume roads. Local roads are our lower traffic volume roads. So just wanted to make sure that you knew that they are participating with millions of dollars to assist in those programs. And it's not just about improvements either, it's about maintenance. Sometimes they want some additional dust control or snow removal, so they can supplement us if they need more or they're asking for more maintenance. This slide here, the transportation budget also includes federal aids, about $2 billion. And it has its own distribution. Basically, it's 75% it goes to the Department of Transportation, and 25% is allocated to the local road agencies. That's all local road agencies. That's 563, if I'm not mistaken, local road agencies share in that 25%. Another talking point, another point here too to tell you is that 30% of our local roads, the county roads, are eligible for federal revenue. There's a distinction between eligible and ineligible for federal aid roads. So that's a key point to remember also. I'm going to turn it over to Denise for a moment here. Take it away.
Okay, so Ed's talked a little bit about the breadth of what county road agencies do, the Michigan Transportation Fund, local funding, federal funding. I'm going to give a very brief overview, snapshot of what we did with these dollars in 2022. So we've been doing this county progress report, as we call it, for since 2017, when the 2015 package took effect, so that we could give a report back and talk about the progress to the legislature. So this is a very high-level overview, but I think a very helpful look at what has happened. So again, this is the report for what counties did in 2022. So this is our primary data. We go out and survey all of our county road agencies. We did it in December, January, stopped harassing people for data in February so that we could report that back. So we had 79 counties that responded. That is our best report ever. We've usually had 77 or 78, so it's a little bit better than that. So this is a look at where the 2015 transportation funding went. So I guess to the left there, the left box, our survey found overall that 81% of the monies that started coming in 2015 are going to roads, bridges, and the right-of-way. So exactly where the legislature wanted it or intended for it to go. So the breakdown of that, number one use is 72% of it is going to the roads. Number two is the gold, actually equipment needed to do the job. Third is 9% on the bridges, and then we drop down quite substantially to our state-mandated underfunded liabilities, the contributions that road commissions, road departments need to make to pay that down, staffing, building improvements, and the category of other. So on the bottom left, I'll just mention that 85%, we always ask the counties, how many of you are matching township dollars? Prior to this package, so 2015 and prior to that, we had a larger number of county road agencies that were not able to provide a match for their township. The money was just so scarce that that was not something that they were able to do. And so increasingly, as this new road funding has kicked in, they've been able to increase their match to townships. So 85% of our county road agencies report that they are matching township monies. Next slide, we're just going to talk a second here to talk about what we're doing is maintaining the existing infrastructure out there. So we updated our costs in December 2023. Last year was a wild year in terms of inflationary costs for bridges and road work, et cetera. And so these are the three most common county road repairs. So reconstruction, you see, is taking it right down to the soil. Rebuilding, that can be anywhere from $415,000 to $6.8 million a mile, depends, of course, where it is and so forth. Preservation work is a wide range from, putting a new surface on it to crack sealing, just a wide range of activities, anywhere from $107,000 to $300,000 a mile. And gravel, we're adding anywhere from 3 to 5 inches of gravel every so many years on the road system, and so that's the cost, $35,000 to $125,000. For some perspective. So this is really the heart of our progress report back to the legislature. We're talking here about progress in miles of roads improved. So first of all, the y-axis here, the 90,000 miles at the top of that is the miles of roads that we are responsible for. 13,500, that lime green line that's going across, is how many miles we feel we should be repairing every year. So this comes from a work group we have of engineers. That's 15% of the system. That's what we've heard MDOT say in the past is kind of the maximum you can work on without totally disrupting the system. So 13.5 is where we ought to be to get towards our goals. So you can see in 2017, that is February of 2017 is when the first increase in gas tax and vehicle registration fees kicked in, and so that's really where you start to see a significant upward trend in the number of miles of roads improved. This year, we're at 6,047 miles of roads improved, according to our survey. Again, that is with 79 counties participating. So that's an increase of 349 miles, or about 0.4%. So we're moving in the right direction, but we're really not gaining on where we ought to be at the 15%. So we're less than halfway to goal there. So had it not been for the indexing that kicked in, the first set of indexing kicked in January of 2022, we'd probably be flat to declining on the local road system, county system. So the path back to good local roads. Suggestions that we have for road funding solution, phase 2 of the road funding package. We have a documented need I'll get into a little bit later on the county system of $1.8 billion additional annual need to move toward our goal, to get to our goal. Constitutionally protected funding is very important to road agencies. They are planning 5, 7, 10 years out sometimes. The third bullet there, retention of increased funds to the MTF, that is really talking about the redirected income tax and making sure that it remains available and ideally constitutionally protected. Then I think we have to talk here just a second about we need a pilot electric vehicle revenue model. So some funds are being collected on electric vehicles, but it is not keeping pace with where they should be. We put that out about 6 weeks ago in a study with our partners. We're already, from 2019 to 2021, we're already losing $50 million that should be coming into the F that didn't, and that's with only 1.9% of the vehicles on the roads being electric vehicles. What we did was, with our partners, hire Anderson Economic Group, we forecast where would we be in 2030. The forecast says in 2030, we could be losing $90 million a year that will not be coming into the MTF, given the projections for electric vehicle adoption. So we're all for electric vehicles, but we don't yet have a fair and contribution from them on the road system. So the $90 million by 2030, that year alone, that represents resurfacing 840 miles of roads. So that's 2 lanes from the city of Monroe to Tequamanon Falls and back again that will not be able to be paved with the lost revenue that's not coming in the door as a result of the EV transition. So we think that's pretty important. Bottom of the page, very quickly, bridge bundling is also a $1.2 billion problem. That is a beast that is separate from the county need of the $1.8 billion. So Michigan Department of Transportation has documented $1.2 billion of closed, critical, serious, or weight-restricted local bridges out there. Bridges typically have a 50-year lifespan. So we're doing this bundling concept that offers efficiencies in time saving and resources. So the first pilot bundle was done a couple of years ago with Highway Infrastructure Program. So that is federal money, $23 million. 19 bridges were done. Those are all done. We have a presentation at our highway conference really talking about the learnings there. In a bridge bundling, you are handing, as a county, you are temporarily handing over responsibility for the bridge to MDOT, and they are group bidding, and they are executing the project with local input, but before returning it to the county. That's how the efficiencies are gained. Bundle number 2, $196 million. That will go for 59 bridges. That is in process. Prices have gone up a lot. It's not going to do quite as many as everyone hoped. And then the governor, of course, in her budget has proposed $200 million for bridge bundling, of which 150 would be for local bridges. They estimate that would go for 30 bridges. We are very supportive of that. We need to catch up. So a quick difference. The $1.2 billion for bridge bundling is sort of catch-up money to get us back to where we need. The $1.8 billion is for retaining roads. We'll be able to preserve those bridges, but they don't allow us to catch up a significant problem that we have just now.
Let's talk about customer service at the county road agencies. In my 19 years at CRA, one thing stands out in my legislative relationships between you all and our road agencies, and that's consistency. Consistency among our counties. Obviously, our larger urban counties and our medium-sized urban counties might be the exception to the rule, but we have had some issues with consistencies across the board. Some of those we have been able to address. We developed a uniform transportation permit and fee structure that most of our counties, I think all the rural counties have adopted the uniform permit and the uniform fee structure. In your packet, there's also a flyer talking about accessible to permits. This is a 24/7, 365 days a year, third-party contractor who does our permitting via the internet. Everything is fillable on the internet. You will get notification or approval or denial within several hours, to be honest with you. They say 24, but I think they've been improved down to a couple hours. That system works because we have a contact person at every county road agency that this third party can contact to make sure that the route is safe and acceptable for use. The next one we've got is we're looking, that permit process is really unique from that standpoint. But where we need to make some more improvements and where we're looking for the legislature to help us out is in this developing a cloud-based project management, construction management system. This is a system that we have. We have a current system right now, but it's becoming obsolete. The department has given us notice that we have a couple years before this is going to be removed or no longer useful, and it will not talk to the department's computer system or software system, which is called Ashtoware. We're going to have a gap here if we don't get busy and start creating a new cloud-based management system. We have under contract with Michigan Tech to begin the process, but we don't have enough money to really fulfill the total need of this new construction program. Phase 1, we have $399,000 for that. We figure we're going to need another maybe $500,000 to really put all the bells and whistles that each county will need. Not every county uses the system in the same manner or has the same need. So those bells and whistles are really important to those individual counties that will be using this. And not just counties, but we also contract with engineering firms to do our engineering services, our construction oversight. So they will be able to pull this program down and use it also. The next part that we're asking for some assistance with is exploring a cloud-based, modern cost accounting platform. Right now, we have 3 or 4 accounting systems where we report to not only to ourselves and to our county board of commissioners, we also report to the Department of Transportation and Treasury. So those 4 different systems are really not uniform in their delivery of the information to themselves or to the Department of Transportation and Treasury. So we're looking at that for also another $500,000 for that. But we're really excited about those 2 opportunities, especially the cloud-based construction system. We'll go back to Denise. Thank you.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about our 2021 County Road Investment Plan. So this is really talking about our future needs out on the road system. So the most recent report we've done is 2021. So years ago, many years ago, the state used to do a giant report that looked at all of the needs on the state, municipal, and county road system. And it hasn't been done for 50 years. So in 2019, we started as an association funding this ourselves with an outside engineer to pull this together for us. And so first we talk about the condition of the roads. State trunk lines, 78% good fare. Now this is 2021 again. County, our federal aid roads, 52% good fare. Local that are not eligible for federal aid are 46% good fare. This is the PASER rating system. It's the standard rating system used across all of Michigan and many, many other states. So our two goals by 2031 were to have our local federal aid eligible roads, so you call them primary roads usually, to be 90% good fare. This is the same goal that the Michigan Department of Transportation has for its federal aid system, so that is our goal as well. Our non-federal aid roads are at 46%. Our goal for them is more modest, to be 60% good fare. And then just a note at the bottom that we do have an update of this report coming out this summer, so hopefully we can come back and share that with you at some point. So the bottom line on the 2021 report, kind of monetizing our needs in the federal aid area, are again to the goal of getting to the lime green line, working on 15% of the roads a year. That's the dollar figure that's needed. Non-federal aid roads we looked at, road maintenance, that is more the pothole patching, snow removal, right-of-way work, guardrail, etc. Bridges, that's the need again to maintain the system that is there. Equipment, basic needs to do the work, and our building and facilities calculated at a 40-year lifespan. So rolling that all together, the annual county road need is $3.6 billion. Take away the current spending, and again, this is the 2021, the 2020 figure because the report was done in early 2021. The additional need is $1.8 billion a year on the county road system. So a quick look at the IIJA.
What I'd like to do here is drill down a little bit on the federal funds that are coming into the state of Michigan as it relates to the county road agencies. Right now, you can look at the IIJA and you can determine that $10 billion is coming to the state. This is a 5-year spending authority that's done at the federal level every 5 years. In the past, that they have gone over the 5-year time frame by extension, so that's how they've been keeping the federal monies coming in. Yeah, it is an increase. It's a rather large increase in federal aid. However, the silos or the programs that are in the federal aid program remain probably the same or a small increase, a smaller increase than you would think. And the reason for that is they created new programs. The federal government has created additional federal programs that are eligible for state agencies to apply for and receive monies under those categories. Again, that is a $2 billion annual allocation to the state of Michigan. Again, there's new programs in there. The next bullet, you'll see the federal aid bill is renewed every 5 years. And limited benefits for, again, the Michigan county roads from the standpoint that we only have 30% are eligible for this type of money, what makes it really challenging for our paved non-federal aid roads, let alone the gravel or the seasonal roads. Here, we're talking about the Infrastructure Investment Act again. Again, we're talking mainly about roads. There's also a category within those silos that I mentioned earlier, talking about bridges. Now, granted, on the federal side or on the road side, MDOT gets 75% and we get 25%. We also split the bridge money in a different formula. It's 85% of the money goes to the Department of Transportation, and only 15% goes to the local agencies for their local federal aid eligible bridges. Which is kind of a little bit of a shock, but that's the way it's been for a long, long time, and that may need to be adjusted, but we sure could use some help in that category. Denise, did I miss anything? I'm just kind of going through this rather quickly.
All I would say, Ed, is the 75% that goes to MDOT. Part of that is what I would say writes the scales. Sometimes we get asked, the 3939 and how is it, MDOT's roads are bigger, deeper, thicker, right, all of that. And this is, with the 75% of federal aid going to the State Department of Transportation, I think that's what helps even things out, and I think that's why Act 51 works. It needs more money at the top of the funnel, but in the distribution, as we talked about how many times it's been amended and so forth, the Act 51 works. And again, just wanted to point out that's, I think, how the scales are righted.
Act 51 lacks revenue, not readjusting who's going to be winners and losers in the distribution formula. That's what we believe in. All recipients of Act 51 money should receive the money in accordance with the statute as it's written. Any questions? I know that was a lot.
It is, but good. Thank you so much for your presentation. I really do appreciate it. So I've said a few times to my committee members that the Transportation Committee is a lot more than just roads. But we're here today talking about roads. And so when we get to this subject, especially when I have conversations with people back in district, they want to talk about the quality of roads. And inevitably what we hear are, is there too much weight on our roads? Is there an improper mix? Is there some sort of warranty that could help? Could you speak to any of those issues that I'm sure I'm not the only legislator up here that's gotten that question before, just from your perspective? I know that this is a question that might be better for the road makers, but I think that you guys probably have quite a bit of experience with that. And it'll be it's been a common theme over the past 4 years that I've been on this committee, and I'm sure we'll continue to do so, especially when you look at something like, this graph here. So if you wouldn't mind speaking briefly on it, I would really appreciate it.
Well, neither one of us are engineers, but I can tell you from my time with the Department of Transportation and with the County Road Association, I don't see a true benefit with warranties. All that does is add to the cost of the project, which will reduce the scope of the project. So that's just my preparation or my interpretation of the warranty program. I think it has some merit if you're doing large-scale projects. Within the department, within MDOT, I think they could probably benefit by it. But even at that level, I really have to think twice before I would say that that's a good concept.
I'll just add a little bit in terms of the quality. Again, I think that lack of funding is really showing the seams of where we're at. You see that, it seems like the growth is kind of leveled off pretty substantially. All of our road agencies, 100% of the 83 county road agencies, road departments are using asset management principles. So we don't go anymore to, I've talked to people in my decade here who earlier in their career, it was a worst first mentality. Let us go fix the worst road. But asset management looks at the traffic on the road system. It looks at, can we invest a little bit of dollars and make that road last longer instead of a whole bunch and take this, more poor road and turn that into something. So I have trust and that we do lots of training. Michigan Tech does an awful lot of training with county road agencies on asset management. Michigan, of course, has the Transportation Asset Management Council. We were the first in the United States to have that, to begin quantifying and tracking. I think they celebrated their 20th anniversary last 2030. Ooh. One or the other, last fall. And so really we're following those principles. It just comes really down to you can only economize so much, and we really need to put some additional funding in there.
I agree 100% that it's a scale of cost. Do we reconstruct 10 miles of road and let a good road go bad or start deteriorating? Or do we put some time and money into keeping a good surface in good condition and then using the rest of our revenue for similar type of repairs? We always want to mill and fill. We always want to do the best, but sometimes we just can't afford to do that.
Well, I appreciate that. Do have a few questions here, and we'll go to Vice Chair Outman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple of questions, if that's okay.
Of course.
Well, first off, thank you, Ed. Thank you, Denise, for being here. Thank you for your presentation. I'm not an appropriations guy, but I have some appropriations questions for you. And I apologize if you've already kind of covered this, and this is a little redundant, but you mentioned $2 billion needed an additional revenue. Would that get you to that 15% target of the road system?
Yes, that's where the number comes from. We built from the ground up, really for the first time taking an inventory of all the buildings, all of the equipment, getting that primary data from insurance entities that insure that for the road agency, so we knew what the assets were. And then looking at the useful life of those different things, from the buildings, at 40 years, the bridges at 50 years, and kind of amortizing, I'm not a banker either, but amortizing that cost over that time frame to figure out what does it take to maintain what we have. And we think we've been pretty in the study, we just sit in on it. We're, again, not the engineers, but that it is a fair way to we're not asking to add lanes, add roundabouts, improvements or things like that, but what does it take to preserve what we have?
Understood. And why 15%? Is it because it would, any more than that, you would totally screw the road system up and you'd be dodging too many orange cones? Where do you land on that 15%?
Yeah, I don't have an exact citation for the 15%, but again, we'd heard a previous MDOT director in a presentation to our members talk about on the MDOT system, working on more than 15% at a time could really tie things up. Probably reality is we don't have crews in this state to really work on much more than that. But when we got our work group together, we had some big counties in there and some little ones, and they're like, yeah, that's really just about exactly what we're doing. So that's where we've camped out and why.
Gotcha. Now, the bigger question, how do we get there? Do you think we could do it with scaling down the budget in other areas with existing revenue, or do you think we're going to need some additional revenue sources? I mean, I hear a lot of people talk about toll roads, vehicle miles traveled. It sounds like a couple other states have some pilot programs regarding that, not going so well. I mean, voluntary programs like that are really tough. How do you think we can accomplish this?
That's an excellent question. I think if we start looking and transitioning onto a mileage-based type system, I think that's the way that we should go. I think that's the way the federal government should go. They're losing out more on electric vehicles than the state of Michigan is because they're not paying anything for electric vehicles, federal fuel tax. So they're the ones that are getting punched in the nose a lot harder than we are, but we're going to start seeing that. Our nose is going to start bleeding pretty soon. Every manufacturer has a goal to increase their electric vehicle manufacturing. So that's going to start hitting us faster and faster every year, and it's going to keep multiplying as to the need. Whether it's mileage-based or some other category, I think mileage-based is probably the most fair. If you look at it from a combustible engine and an electric vehicle engine, you pay for what the miles of roads that you drive on, and I think that's probably the fairest. Do we need a study? Absolutely. There are 20 other states that have electric pilot programs, mileage-based electric vehicle pilot programs on the books right now. Some of them have completed. Some of them have written some reports. I know there's 3 other states, including Ohio, that's in the progress of developing an RFP to go out for electric vehicle pilot program. I think we should be hot on that trail also.
Okay, and I think you said a pilot EV study. I don't think we need another study. We need to move to a pilot project to begin collecting the revenue. We will have, in the process of that, we will need to look at what these 19 other states or so have done. But 7 years isn't very far away when you talk about an enterprise-wide state government, putting an RFP out and implementing it and so forth. And again, we're going to be in a world of hurt by 2030 if we don't quickly figure out a pilot revenue project.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, I look at this chart from House Fiscal. By 2031, we're really underwater here. I mean, less than 50% of roads in good condition. That's a problem. And, with the rise of electric vehicles, and I don't want to discourage anybody from getting an electric vehicle, but there's got to be some sort of parity there. The devil.
We'd love to come back another time if it's the committee's pleasure to talk about our electric vehicle study. It's probably more than we'd want to bring the right graphics and such. I want to just stress 1 second about toll roads. Toll roads, I think, there are a lot of unanswered questions. The study came out. It really looked like it could be a panacea for funding. That's not really going to be workable on the local road system. There's an awful lot of apps out there that can tell me where to go. I think we have concerns, even on the state trunk line system, should it go that way, how will people alter their driving behavior and get back on the non-trunk line routes, kind of creating more congestion and more safety concerns. That was the reason that the highway, the trunk line was created in the first place. So I don't think that is the answer for the 75% of the system that we have.
Yeah, and I'm not convinced that it is either. I do think that it's going to need to come from existing and additional revenue sources. That's what I'm starting to, starting to go down that path. When I first got elected, I thought, I can clean the budget up no problem and get some additional revenue to a transportation fund. But then you get down here and realize there's a person willing to die on the sword for every line item in that budget, and so it's a little difficult to complete that task. But I appreciate you guys being here today, and I appreciate the
Mr. Chairman, you
conversation.
also talked about weight. Electric vehicles are averaging about 1,000 pounds heavier than your combustible engine vehicles. So weight is starting to become an issue again. I'm sure that there are firms out there, and MDOT probably has reams of data showing that the commercial vehicle is doing 10 times, 20 times more damage than a passenger vehicle, and that's just because of weight. Do we need to consider weight as an issue for vehicle registration as opposed to ad valorem? Those are things that we ask you to look into. We provide suggestions and alternatives. We leave it up to the capable hands of yourself and the governor to make those heavy decisions on how we're going to tax the people of Michigan or what type of registration fee mechanism we're going to use.
Thank you. Next, we have Representative Kuntz.
I did. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming here. Mr. Noel, I'd like to commend you on your heavy decision pun on the weight discussion. Well played. Can you give me, well, that was good. That was almost as good as Representative Zeltman's I'm willing to go down that road pun, but you guys are doing very well.
For slow.
Can you help me understand the eligibility issue on roads? Which roads are eligible for federal funding, which roads are not? That would be my question. Thank you.
There is a federal manual, I can't even think of the name of it, that describes how roads are classified. And they're not just classified across a state. Depending on your geographic area, that might be slightly different from what do they call those, collectors and arterials. Those are planning definitions of types of roads. And based on those classifications, each county and each city, their roads and streets are determined whether they're federal aid eligible or not.
That's a USDOT decision?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Roth.
Thank you, Denise and Ed, for being here today. The 1.8 or 2 billion, whatever you want to say, that needs to be today. Is that something we're looking at in a period of time? And if we don't get it right away, how much does that increase by year? The other one I will say is, I'm going to sneak in a second question before the chair cuts me off. How many counties do a millage?
We know those things. Second, I don't think we can say we're going to do that third study and we're launching it in April. We'll have it, I hope, by June or July that will tell us where that 1.8 billion need has gone. Between the first study and the second study, it actually went down a little bit, but now we have had some significant inflation creep in, and so hard to know where we're at with that. We have 30 counties that have a county-wide road millage, and we have approximately 500 townships. We brushed up on that answer this morning. 500 townships have some kind of township millage. It could be 3 years, 5 years. Some of them are 15 years, so it's been kind of hard to track down, but there are at least that many townships that have millages. We held a workshop for our folks back in December, a half a day, really talking to them about, because road commissions cannot levy any kind of tax or millage, et cetera. It has to have their county's approval. And so we talked to them about what the local funding mechanisms are. So local road millages, special assessment districts, and bonds. Those are really the three tools that are in the hands of the counties or the townships if they want to leverage those monies.
I don't want to overdo my time. I don't want the chair again cut me off, but just kidding, Chair. Is there any study on how well the roads are in those counties that do have their own millage in townships?
You could not so no, we have not studied it. I don't think you could definitively say if there's a millage, there's better roads. We have such a variety of, some counties are getting maybe some federal forestry proceeds, oil royalties. There are just so many. We hate to say it, it's kind of a trite saying, but every county is different. They just where the revenues come from. We was at St. Clair County not too long ago. I think they share in tipping fees from their landfills. So there are lots of different sources like that, and so millage is not the only variable you'd have to control.
Most of the millages, or I shouldn't say most, large portion of the millages are used for maintenance purposes, not necessarily for road improvement projects, like resurfacing or reconstruction. They're looking at routine maintenance. Let's do some more dust control. Let's get some more snow removal. The small items like that, vegetation removal, tree trimming, whatever. But that's what a lot of that millage money is used for in order to keep their local infrastructure nice and tidy, or as tidy as they possibly can.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Representative Conlon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for this great presentation. I think we know all of our constituents have an opinion about the roads the minute they leave their driveway, and that's where it begins. You mentioned something about a lack of crews. Would this revenue help us? Do you have a workforce shortage out there? Is that something you're also addressing, as we've seen across many industries?
And I don't mean to imply that everybody needs employees, but I don't mean to imply that we couldn't make gains because of the workforce, but at some point that is the limiting factor. Could not, if all the money in the world suddenly materialized, certainly roads would not be fixed in 1 year or 2 years. I mean, we've been decades getting to this point, and we're going to be probably a couple decades getting back, but again, the sooner we can get on some of the preservation work, it'll be cheaper.
You hit on one of my famous sayings that everything begins and ends in someone's driveway. So that's the key point. Local streets, local roads, they feed the interstate system and the U.S. or the DOT system. So let's keep that in perspective. Let's keep that in mind when we talk about funding for road agencies.
Mr. Roth.
Don't want to overdo it, Mr. Chair. Thank
No,
you.
you're totally fine. Go ahead.
We talked last term about getting more money back to the road commissions. Any idea what kind of dollar figure? I know we talked about a $350 million investment in our local road commissions, and I don't know the whole procedure. I'm not on approps, as a lot of us aren't. We're not knowing why we didn't get that, but we were certainly encouraging our appropriations to put money back into the coffers of our road commissions. Any idea if there's any sounding board there that they're willing to listen? I think our county roads could use that and address local roads more if we had some more money back in your hands.
We would definitely use whatever the legislature would find in their hearts to appropriate for local road agencies, but obviously we need more. I think if you look at your local road system within your cities or within your counties, we are all in desperate need of more money. We'll take whatever you offer gladly, but we've set the bar. We're talking about the 1.8. Anything in between there would be helpful and useful in our eyes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none. So thank you so much for your presentation today. I really do appreciate it. Very informative, and thank you for being a resource for this committee.
Thank you. Take care.
So I need a motion to excuse absent members. Actually, no absent members today, so there being, let me see here. There being no further business before the committee will stand adjourned.